Hey, Brew Guy here. Quick video on yeast propagation. If you're dizzy, I'll cut that out. Okay, so the boys at Exit 12 Brewing received this maniacal yeast Juggernaut Quebec blend. They sent me some dried granules here. I propagated that out. Nothing spectacular. I just wanted to get the yeast to see if they were active for one and build a culture. So I did that, and I'm going to propagate tomorrow's. I'm going to propagate tomorrow's by doing the same with some DME. There's a lot of literature out there about how much DME to add. As long as you have a starter that's around 1050, you're pretty much good for anything. And unless you're making a barley wine, then you want to increase the gravity of your starter so that you don't shock the yeast when you drop it into that really carbohydrate-rich environment. I didn't use my stir plate because I wanted to make sure that the yeast fermented, and it did. It came up, came down, and it settled out. So I'm going to fill these up with this, and then decant off a little bit more into this fresh starter, and then that will be what I use tomorrow. All right, you can make this as easy or as complicated as you want. It's not that big a deal. Once I was confident that the yeast production was good, I saw a good amount of sediment on there, I went ahead and put it on the stir plate just to get it all into suspension again. Because as I said, I'm going to decant some into here first. I'm going to do it first because I want to make sure I have enough for my starter, which this will be just a small starter because it's Quebec yeast. I don't need this huge starter, even though it's going to be almost a 10-gallon batch. I'm pretty confident that's good and stirred up, so let's turn the stir plate off. Bring that up to 600. That's all I need in jars. I have, what's the best way to do this here? Get it in the shot. But this is Star San. I've got my fingers in there too. Everybody's all happy and clean. I'm going to pour that off. One little stir. Make sure my stir bar doesn't go in there. Looks like I might end up with a lot extra. So I want to fill it right up to the top. I may spill a little over, and that's okay. I just don't want any airspace in there. There we go. And then the lid, I'm going to slide over like this. And then I'm going to put the top on. I may end up getting a third mason jar just because it looks like I have plenty here. Or I could just pour some more into the starter. Give it another stir. Now, I don't have a magnet on here, which if you had a magnet you would hold your stir bar in place. I can't seem to find my little magnet I had. So I just have to be careful. So same thing for the second one. I may actually have enough for one more. Then we're going to slide that over the top. Kind of cut that clean off, so to speak. Snug it down and we'll clean that up. Now theoretically, if you were going to propagate yeast, I tend to not want to do it. I don't crop it anymore. I used to, but I don't crop it anymore from after post-fermentation. I do it from the starter. So I make a really big starter. I try to do it a day in advance or a couple days in advance. And then I'll make my samples, i.e. these, sort of like a clone of the original. Now I have, in this case, I'll have 3 plus the one I'm using tomorrow, so 4 yeast samples. That's still some yeast stuck to the bottom there. I'll get it all. Alright, see if we can get the whole thing. Wait, did I? Yes, I did. Alright, something. Hopefully I can fill it up. If I can, I'm not going to use it. That looks promising. Perfect. Okay, there you go. And then I'll just dump the rest of that in my starter for tomorrow. Slide that over, screw that down. All right, let's get that in here. Get that out of the way. I already have a stir bar in there, so I don't need to add another one, but if it goes in there, I'm not going to cry about it. Yeah, it's still in there. Perfect. Okay. Well, there you have it. And now this one will ferment, and I'll clean this one. And that will be my yeast for tomorrow. These are simple. You can rinse them in here if you want. Tighten them down a little further. Looks like there might be a little air in that one. Make sure you label them, dry them off, and label them before date them. That's another important thing. You want to date them. So this is how you can stretch out your yeasts. If you plan on using a yeast more than once, and this one I do, it's really hard to get, so this one I don't want to lose it. So I can propagate it another time if I'd like, or I could grab a couple more off of this tomorrow before I pitch the yeast in the beer if I wanted to. And this will all really be the same generation. And it did not go through the fermentation process. It's not stressed under a lot of alcohol. Although I do let it kind of ferment a little bit. I want it to have a little bit of alcohol because it acts as a preservative. But I don't let it go like full-on fermentation. It's sort of like a hybrid blend of stir plate versus non-stir plate. So at first I don't use the stir plate, and then I'll use it for a little bit, and then I'll take it off the stir plate and just let it finish. So if you've got the time to do that, I recommend that there be a little bit of alcohol, but not a lot. Just enough to stave off any possible infection, although it's going to go right in the fridge anyway. You know, as far as stability wise, you don't want to interject any bacteria. And if there's a little bit of alcohol in there, enough anyway, it should be able to act as a preservative. That's it, guys. Any questions? Put them in the comments below. Cheers. Oh, if you like the bling, go to brewtubers.com. Along the top is shop, and we have this sweatshirt, plus a lot of other cool shirts that have been designed. Take a look. Support the club. Thanks.